And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 251, and I'm joined here by Southern Discomforts' own Snake Williams Jr. Good evening, sir. How's it going?
Hey, it's your old pal, Snake Williams Jr. here, and I'm doing absolutely terrific.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us here. But Snake, before I get into the questions, I do want to ask you, I have to ask you the question I ask everyone that comes on. You heard the name of the podcast. It's called Respect the Craft. So for you, when you hear that term, the craft, what does that mean to you?
Oh man, it's a craft is something that you have to work on your whole life to perfect, man. It's art. It's what makes you you. It's everything.
How'd you know that works? That definitely works. So now getting into the craft here, getting into that part of it. For you, what was it that made you decide that you wanted to step into this craft? What was it finally made you decide, you know what, I have to step through those ropes?
I grew up watching wrestling as a kid. I grew up in the '80s watching both Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. Luckily, I was in an area that you could watch both. So I got to see, those eras and all the way through. And I just loved it, man. From the time I was a little kid, man, I'd get with my friends. We would wrestle at the park and build, rings out of mattresses and poles and ropes and stuff. And we'd get out there and we'd imitate what we saw on TV. And it was just a blast. And so, uh, I finally decided to do it. But actually, to be honest with you, what pushed me over the edge to make me actually do it was Nightmare Danny Davis,
Ooh, okay.
the owner of OVW at the time. It's owned by multiple people now, including Al Snow. But he, when I was in high school, me and a bunch of my friends, we would go rent his ring out because you could rent the ring out for a couple hours for like $100, something like that. We'd all pitch in $20, go rent the ring out. We'd get in the ring, we'd play around and stuff. I was about 18, something like that. Well, we'd rented the ring a few times and getting ready to leave, and Danny pulled me off to the side and told everybody else they could go. And he was just like, man, he was like, have you ever thought about doing this for real? And I was like, yeah, I have, but I have nowhere to start. He's like, well, I'll tell you what. He's like, I feel like you got something there. He was like, I watched you when you've been coming in here. And he was like, I think I could work with you. He said, so why don't you, he asked me if I was married and all that stuff. I was like, no, I have a fiance and stuff. He's like, well, bring her in. We'll have a meeting, all that. And came in, had the meeting and everything. And then, next day, I gave him a check for my tuition and started school there. So, that was what actually pushed me over because I had always wanted to do it, but I wasn't like pursuing it. Like I wasn't
Gotcha. No, I
going
was
and
gonna.
asking people and stuff like that. I
Of
wasn't
course.
trying to be like, hey, how do you get in the wrestling business or anything like that.
I was gonna ask. I was like, was that something that you inevitably wanted to do, or was it more of just that hobby of like, you know what? Hey, this is something we like. Hey, we get to be in a ring, but not necessarily is this something like you were seeking to do eventually one day.
Nah, when we was going, we was just going and having fun, being goofy and imitating what we seen on TV every week. So
Got you. Hey, and again, that's how it starts, though. It creates that passion, it creates that respect for it. And look at now it's years later, and look where we are.
yeah, that's true. That is
So,
very
and
true.
it was funny because I was looking at the bio, I was trying to do a little bit of research here, and I don't want to make you feel old now, Snake. I want to be respectful. But I noticed where it says I've been in the ring since 1998.
Yes.
I that was the year I was born, Snake.
Oh, well.
When I saw that, I was like, that is too poetic there to have this conversation now.
But
So
I'm in my prime though,
hey,
so
no, and again, that is the thing though. You're pulling strong, you're keeping it going. But now I do want to bring this up because again, you do that, but your name is Snake Williams Jr. So I wanna go to that now. I want to go that side of things of for the people at home that might not be as familiar. Where is the senior? Who is that great legend that we're talking about here?
Okay, so I was adopted when I was 2 years old. My mother passed away; she was killed. Um, so I was adopted by my great aunt and uncle on my mom's side, and nobody ever knew who my father was. All growing up, nobody ever knew who my father was, and I never knew. I knew the only thing I knew about him was I was told that he was a truck driver in Tennessee,
Gotcha.
and I lived in Indiana, and so when I met my wife, who I'm with now, she had gave me a birthday or a Father's Day present one year. She gave me a DNA test. I can't remember which one it is, ancestry DNA.
Gotcha.
And she was like, maybe you can find out who your dad is through this. And so, I took the DNA test and got all my results back and stuff, but nothing really came up there that was really solid or anything. So then we started doing research online and found these things called search angels on Facebook. And they're basically DNA detectives that do it for free. They do it as a hobby. I mean, you can
Oh
pay
wow.
them.
Okay.
You can like donate money to them. They'll take donations or presents and stuff like that. So, but anyways, this is kind of a long story. But
It's all
anyways,
good. It's all good.
uh, so ended up finding this search angel. She went into my ancestry, couldn't figure out. She got stuck at a certain point. She couldn't figure anything out, and I had no information to give because I didn't know anything. And so she ended up quitting. So that was like a year that I sat back and just said, "Screw it," I ain't never going to find out who my real dad is. So then my wife said, "Why don't you get on there and try to find somebody else? Maybe somebody else can have better luck." And so I did, and I found this lady, and she was able to figure out who my real dad was. Well, when I found out who my real dad was, I found out he was from Canada. He moved down here when he was in his 30s, and he was became an American citizen in his 30s. But his family, his brother and stuff, still lived up in Canada. I found out that his brother, who is my uncle, was a gentleman by the name of Bill Joden. And he was trained in the dungeon by Stu Hart. My father and him, they lived in a little house below the farm, and they were neighbors and they were friends with the Hart boys. Like my brother was good friends, or not my brother, his brother was good friends with Bret Hart, and he was
Oh wow.
friends with Owen and stuff. And but anyways, he went by the name Snake Williams in Canada. He wrestled for Stampede. He also wrestled for WWE or WWF at the time. He was in a few enhancement matches. Like he was in one with Brett. He was in one with. He was in Yokozuna's very first match. He was the first person Yokozuna beat in WWF. He wrestled Earthquake and Typhoon when they were the tag champions. He did a lot of enhancement work and stuff for WWE. But when I found that out, I had already been wrestling since 1998. I just found that out like 2 years, 2, 3, 4 years ago. And when I found that out, I was like, uh, I hadn't been wrestling for a while, and we were me and Jeb, my partner, was talking about coming back to wrestling and tagging and doing the Southern Discomfort thing. And when I with the Southern Discomfort thing, I was going by Nate Steele,
Yeah.
but with the Southern Discomfort thing, Snake Williams Jr. just sounded so much better. And plus, it's in honor of him because he passed. I never got to meet him. He passed away back in 2018, so I never got to meet him. But just to know that I have that in lineage, and then I
Yeah.
got a brother that wrestled in Oklahoma and stuff like that. So it's just that's where the name Snake Williams Jr.
Gotcha.
came from.
No, and it's interesting because I did want to know, was it something of, was that what also added to you being a wrestler? But it's insane to think that you're learning this information years later. So it's like you
That's
never
right.
knew this was already a part of your lineage. You're not knowing that this was a part of that family tree there. So that's too insane to think this could have been something that was always meant to be.
And then also Danny coming up to me and telling me,
Yeah.
pulling me off to the side and saying, "I see something in you, man. Let's work with this and stuff like that." Yeah, man, I've thought about it, and it's I wouldn't have changed anything. I mean, I would have changed a few things
Yeah,
uh, that I've done throughout my life and career and stuff in the wrestling business, but I would have never not done the wrestling thing.
got you. No, and again, that's true. Truly showing how the craft was always meant for you, man. Like it shows you that it's there from that lineage and doing that now. So that is awesome. So I do have to ask this now. Now knowing that and being able to then look up the history and see how has that been now carrying the mantle, being now Snake Williams Jr. How was that transition to you from the previous Nate Steele?
It's me. It's me. It's who I am.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's who I am. It's me to a T. My uncle was a biker. That's how he died. He died on a motorcycle
gotcha.
in a motorcycle accident. I'm a biker. Um, I've I own several motorcycles. You know, uh, it's me. It's who I am. It fits me. And the junior part fits because all respect to my dad, but the wrestling side of me came from my uncle.
Got you. No, that works. And again, it shows just what you do in the ring, what you've done so far, and what you continue to do. You can see that reflection in there. So now I do want to continue this because you start there, you get picked out, and you're brought in fully to train with OVW. Tell us that relationship now, years later. How has that been, and how is that relationship still with the newfound management in OVW?
Um, the relationship with OVW I have is a good relationship. I haven't been there in a while because I had some medical issues for
Gotcha.
a little bit that I was dealing with and stuff. And in the wrestling business, if you're not there, other people will take your spot, and
Of
that's
course.
just that's just the gist of it.
Yeah.
And I was given the opportunity to come in and try to be an agent, but that just wasn't, I thought about it, and it was me that had asked. It wasn't, like they came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to be an agent." I had asked to be an agent, and they had said, "Yeah, we can start, working with you on some things and showing you how things work." But then I started thinking about it, and I'm just not at that point that I'm ready to do that,
Okay.
that I want to do that, in my life. I mean, I have a really good job that I work that keeps me pretty busy. And I know the agenting thing is very, very stressful and very busy because Jebediah, my ex partner, he's an agent there. So I know I know what he goes through. I know what the long nights on the meetings, on the Zoom calls, and all that stuff. On Sunday nights and stuff like or whatever nights they do it. I know how that stuff goes. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
It's why they run around all day during TV about pulling their hair out. It's
No, definitely. The production side of it is something where this is why I dyed my hair because I do a lot of producing and helping out with certain promotions over here. Yeah, it does make your hair go gray a little faster, but it is vital parts to this. But now, with that being said, so that hunger though to want to still be in the ring is as there as ever. So it's still that yearning to be
Oh
in the ring instead
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
man.
producing sides of things.
I'm the IPW Indiana Powerhouse Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, and I'm very heavily involved there. And that's a pretty big company in Indiana. I mean, they draw really well. They do really good. And I mean, I'm open for anybody else that wants to book me. Anybody wants to contact me, email me, contact me on Facebook, Twitter. Well, no, I'm not on Twitter. TikTok, whatever. Just
Gotcha. Well, then again, the links to those will also be in the description down below. But you brought up the team earlier, so I do want to show you a picture because I want to get a little bit more into what the group was, and that's this right here in Southern Discomfort. Tell us a little bit about this, the origin of this, and I see a familiar face that I want to ask you about in a little bit. So I want to talk to us a little bit about what that group was or is technically still in a sense, but what was Southern Discomfort?
well, Southern Discomfort started with me and Jebediah Blackhawk. He's a
Gotcha.
OVW original, just like I am. Uh, uh, he was one of the hillbillies back in the day on OVW TV. He was Judas, the Dark Preacher, Batista's manager at OVW, and Wolfie D's mouth. I mean, not manager, but he was like the mouthpiece or whatever. But he wrestled
Okay,
also and stuff.
gotcha.
So me and him was playing golf one day, and he was talking about some guys that come into the gym where he trains, and how they were talking about how they was at OVW and would love for him to come in and do something with them. But they're a tag team. And so he's talking to me about it. And I'm like, well, hey, I've been thinking about maybe getting back in. What if we do it as a tag team since we're older now? It'd be a lot less stress on our bodies because we're not both in there the whole time. We
Yeah,
can get in and out and stuff like that. I was like, so why don't we in? And, we talked about it and decided we was going to start hitting the gym hard and seeing if we could get there. And then we had our first match, and me and Jeb, I guess because we were trained by the same people, Rip Rogers, Danny Davis, all of them, and trained the same way. We just kind of we melded together, like we just naturally fit. Like we just worked well together. And so it was a really good thing, man. And so we started working the independents, and then we finally talked to Al and got him to bring us into OVW, and we did. We was there for 3 years, man, doing their summer tours. We was on TV some. We was on a few pay-per-views and stuff like that. We had, a little short run there where we was pretty dominant for a very short. I mean, you blink and you'd probably miss it, but we was, running the gamut. We got pretty good, decent little push for a second there. Uh, and then we kind of got fell to the wayside at OVW, man, and weren't getting used, and they were bringing in younger talent. They had that Netflix series that me and him were both in, and I mean, we actually got a lot of camera time in it, even though
yeah,
we weren't featured. And we got an interview in it. We got our names put on the screen, which so we thought, after that, we thought, well, they're going to start using us more and give it. But, they want younger people, man. We just wasn't giving them what they wanted. So Jeb thought, what if we break up and do our own thing? I'll go back to doing the hillbilly thing, and you do your, figure out your Snake Williams Jr. character. Because at the time, my character was a tag team character. I didn't really have a singles personality.
gotcha.
It was me feeding off of Jeb.
Okay,
And but then I found my voice, and I found my promos, and I found my and then me and Jeb, we had a battle. We had a battle at IPW. Several matches that I came out on top, and he had to leave. He was gone. He got his head shaved, and he was gone. And but during that, before that happened, I brought in Big Whiskey Jared Kripke. He's an OVW guy too, which me and Jeb, we discovered him out on the road, and we brought him to OVW, and they liked him, so they used him. He was a big part of the Netflix series too and stuff. He had some stuff in it, and man, Kripke's a character, bro. He's a character. I mean, he's just, if he's a bad guy, the people freaking hate his guts, and if he's a good guy, they love him to death.
yeah,
I mean, he's just a character, man.
that's awesome.
It's just who he is. And then, I decided I went to the company, and I said, hey, man, I want to bring in a group. I said, I want to make a biker faction. I
Gotcha.
said, I want to keep Southern Discomfort together, but as a biker faction instead of a tag team.
Okay,
And they was like, okay, cool. So then I brought in Donovan Cecil.
okay,
Big DC Mastiff is what he's called there, but Donovan Cecil's he is ranked number 30 in the nation's strongest men. He is Kentucky's strongest man the last 2 years in a row. I mean, this guy is a beast.
oh
He's
yeah, you
like
get, yeah,
he's a beast. And then I brought in Then I brought in Manny Domingo, who is now, right now, he goes by a different name. I think it's Joe Peso.
Yep.
And he is the Rush Division, or he was the Rush Division champion. I don't know if he is
Yeah,
anymore. He might not be
unfortunately,
anymore.
yeah, I think unfortunately he went down with injury. Unfortunately, he had to vacate the championship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know that. I knew he was the champion.
yeah,
And then I brought in Benny
yeah.
the
That
Beast.
that's the one where I wanted to get into because that's Theo Benny right there. Shout out to Benny, who's the reason we're having this conversation right now. Because that's my Theo right there. So how do we get that relationship? Because that's an interesting one to see to be added to the group here.
Man, I was looking for because I wanted Southern Discomfort to have that horseman kind of feel. I
Okay,
don't want to be the horseman,
yeah,
but I wanted it to have that kind of feel, and I wanted to
gotcha,
make it into something that where when I'm ready to walk out of the ring, I can still be involved as a manager and as the mouthpiece for Southern Discomfort, and
gotcha.
still have guys that I can and to help younger guys out too.
Of course.
I've been in the business a long time. I know a few things. Uh, so, and so, yeah, uh, I just wanted to put these guys together, and I was looking for a fourth member, and the booker come to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, I got this guy, Benny. He goes by Benny the Beast. He used to be in LAX. He's, Homicide's cousin, all this other stuff. I think he'd be a real good fit for your group, man."
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll check him out. I'll watch him. And he was on the show that night, and I checked him out. I watched him and stuff, and I liked him, and I liked what he was doing in the ring and stuff. And I think he's got a lot of talent. And so I went up to him, I talked to him, and I told him, the booker was saying something about, putting you with us and all that stuff. And I was like, but at the end of the day, it's my decision because it's my group.
Of course,
And
of
I
course.
said, but I like you, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to have you in the group. And actually, me and Benny, we hit it off pretty good, man. We become pretty
Nice.
good friends. He's a great guy. I like him. I love him to death, man. He's a great guy.
No, that's awesome. So let's go to that. Now you have the group here. It's established into what it became. How is that process then of now truly encompassing what you wanted the group to be?
Oh, dude, we're dominant. We're dominant, and we are the most hated people at IPW. And it's because all we do is we go in there and we be real.
Got you.
We say what we want to say, we do what we want to do, and we run the show.
There you go. You love to see it, or you hate to see it, depending on the day. So
Hey,
that's awesome. So now I do want to go into that though. Now we go into um that initial split though, for or like you mentioned, finding yourself now as a single star, finding you as the character, because at first it's been the tag guy. So now you're in the mix of finding the name, finding who you are. How is that process for you of finding who you wanted Snake Williams Jr. to be the singles guy?
honestly, Jeb's the one that brought it out of me. Being with Jeb, working with Jeb. Jeb's a great promo. Jeb's a great character. I mean, if you ever watch his stuff, if you go online, look up Jebediah Blackhawk, or go to OVW and watch some of his stuff that's on there or whatever, and doing the hillbilly thing, or even doing the thing with me. I mean, Jeb's a character. He's a great character, and I learned from watching him. And he would talk to me about things on our car rides and stuff. And I started finding a voice because I started cutting jokes on him and stuff in the car and stuff. And we would like we would have people ride in the car with us on road trips, and they'd have a blast. Right, we almost did a podcast where it was just our trips,
All right,
road
yeah.
trips. Like a podcast live thing where people could watch, because everybody that would ride with us would be like, "Man, y'all are funny as shit."
That
And
would be a
and
hit. I feel like that's what more people want to hear. Just those stories. That sometimes it's like you got to be there, man. You got to be there to hear it.
right, and it's just like, by doing that with him, I found myself,
Got you.
and I found who I was, and who Snake Williams Jr. was to me.
Gotcha.
I've always done the biker thing, which is
Okay.
another thing that's funny because my uncle did the biker thing too.
And
You
again,
know,
it's
and
just it's too weird like to now see that when you're and again, I have to ask because now that you're learning all this and you're seeing those similarities, was there that moment of just like just I can imagine shocking learning all this and it's like it was just meant to be. Because it could
oh
have been
yeah,
anyone with any with all this when it comes to being picked out to be, hey, I want to actually fully train you because I see something in you. Then you start searching while you're already again wrestling. You're already in the business, you're already doing everything to find these little things that now connect you. It's truly insane. Like again, if we're not having this conversation right now and I just hear this from someone else, it's like, there's no way. Like if we
oh
weren't having
bro,
this conversation, it's insane to hear.
believe me, bro. It's. I never thought that there would ever come a day that I would even know who my real dad was. To be honest with you, my whole entire life, I was like, yeah, I'll never know who he was. And even when I found out, or even when I did the DNA test and everything, I even told my wife, I was like, because I think I was probably in my late 30s, early 40s when she first bought me the test, and I'm still in my early 40s, and so it took 3 or 4 years before I even found him, and I told my wife, I was like, he may not even be alive anymore, even if I do figure out who he is. But I still wanted to know who my
Yeah,
dad
to have
was
that
because I
clarity. Yeah,
wanted to know where I came from. I wanted to know if I had siblings, which I do. There's other stuff that I wanted to know. So,
of course, of course. So no, and again, it's crazy to see that how that search led you to so much more. And again, it led you to at least clarity, and it also it gave you something because it gave you that now bond that hey, you have this in common, and you were able to use that to now hey honor that legacy of your
and
uncle as well.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
When I took on the Snake Williams Jr. name, and I watched some of my uncle's matches, and I watched some of his promos that I could find. I mean, there's very few Canadian matches online that you can find,
yeah,
unfortunately. And he also wrestled in Japan. Um, but when I would watch it and stuff, it just all sort of kind of started coming together for me.
got you.
Like it started making sense for me. They say that in every wrestler's career, it until it starts making sense to you, you're going to be working and working and working and working, and then once it makes sense, it becomes easy.
No, that's it's true, and it's one of those where I usually ask that for people. What is that moment where it's finally like it clicks and it's like you know what, this was the right choice? Because it's the easy one to be like, you know what, I want to get into this, but it's till you finally have that eureka moment that it's like, you know what, this is why we're doing this. Let's keep going. So that's awesome to hear that finding that moment. Because I can imagine for some, it's one of those that maybe they don't find till later on in their career. It's one of those they don't find possibly ever till it's just like, you know what, this was something, you know?
And it was late in my career, but a lot of that's my fault too, because I mean, back in the day when I was in OVW and stuff, before something happened there that I ended up having to leave. Um, I was doing really well. I was really doing well. I was getting ready to get a big tag push there because I was in a tag team there at OVW at the time. I was doing an inmate gimmick and all this other stuff, but then my partner ended up quitting on me, and my grandpa ended up dying, and I had to take time off. And when I took time off, it made them mad, and so they told me they didn't need me anymore, and so I ended up leaving and going to BBW, which was like a big company in Kentucky at the
Okay.
time.
Gotcha.
They were like the largest independent company in Kentucky, and they were one of OVW's competitors at the time. The only thing they didn't have was TV, but they went
Gotcha.
everywhere. They were seen everywhere. And I wrestled for them, became their heavyweight champion there, and all that stuff. And then I ended up getting married and having a kid and walking away for a few years, which was a mistake because then when I come back, everything had passed me by.
Yeah.
everybody that I had trained with and everything, they had done their WWE stuff. They had done, and I had left right before all that stuff started. They'd all had their, chances, and I missed all that, and it sucked. But it was a mistake that I made. That's the only thing that I regret. That if I had to go back and change, I would have changed.
See, but and this might be, again, I don't want to overstep with this, but is it one of those where did you really make a mistake, or that was just what it was meant to be? Again, you chose to have the family life. Unfortunately, sometimes that is a difficult decision, in this
It
business.
is.
We learn that because there's sometimes that, again, you are going to miss those important days. You are going to miss certain things, but to do that and be, again, strong enough to decide, you know what, this is my craft, this is my passion, but I want to have the family life for a bit. So,
I mean, I'm not saying okay. In the situation I was in, it
yeah,
was the right decision.
of course.
But what I'm saying is, if I had it all to do over again, I would have never even, I would have done things differently.
Okay,
I would
gotcha.
have just done things differently.
Got you. Maybe again, still do the life, but maybe just let's not take the break. Let's make this. Let's find a way
Yeah.
to incorporate both sides to it. That makes sense. So I do want to ask a little bit about that because, like you mentioned, you were a part of that documentary. You were a part of the series. That if people haven't checked out, which I'd imagine if you're watching this, you definitely have checked out Wrestlers on Netflix. How was that process for you? How was that for you getting to be involved with that? And just again the after, even though again I know you said with OVW it unfortunately didn't lead to as much as you would have wanted, but how is that reaction when it comes to other places? And is that still very something that people are like, hey, I saw you on this, or even recently, hey, I've seen you on this?
Well, I'll go to the first part of the question
Yeah.
is about the process, man. It was mind blowing, bro. It was I've never been a part of anything like that in my life. It was crazy. It was just I don't know, man. It was amazing. It was amazing to see the process. They brought in BBC crew and people that do these documentaries all the time, and they're amazing people that become friends. They're all almost, they say wrestling is a family, and I know there's some wrestlers out there that like to run their mouths and say, "Oh, it ain't a family," and people stab you in the back. And yeah, maybe that is true in some places and stuff like that. But there are true friends in the wrestling business. I've
Yep.
met some of my best friends are in the wrestling business. Most of my best friends are either in it or have been in it
Same.
at one
Same.
point in time. And these are people that I know I could count on, and that if I needed them, and I could call them, and they'd be there for me. So all that stuff is bull crap. And then these people come into our life to see what we do, to see our sacrifices and stuff, and then we create bonds with them and become friends with them. And I mean, the day that they left, man, they were hugging and crying, and it was like your family was leaving. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, I can imagine, like, especially how long it takes to do those documentaries to be able to get that extensive and get those shots and get that. You definitely are going to grow a bond. You're definitely going to make something. You make those memories, and but now I do ask because I know we talked about it earlier, the insanity of having to put the production of a show. So how was that now adding that part of now we're doing the documentary around that? How insane was that part of it, of having to, hey, we're still running a show here, but we also worried about the documentary going along with that?
Oh, it was chaotic, man. It was definitely chaotic. I mean,
Yeah.
you could be walking down the hallway and turn around and talk to somebody, and run right into a camera right in your face. I mean, it was that chaotic,
No.
and I mean, they would try to get as close to you sometimes as they could possibly. Like we'd be sitting there during the meetings at the end of the shows and stuff, and they'd be like right here in your face with the camera, and it's like you're told, don't look at the camera, don't sell the
Yeah,
camera, you're
no.
being natural. Just be natural. Just act like they're not even there. And then you got a camera like right here in the side of your face, and you're like, "What the hell, man? get out of my face!"
I can imagine it's the most unnatural, but try to act natural situation. And it's like, just knowing how insane locker rooms can be, I'm just thinking, like, I can only imagine the stress because seeing you see it on the doc how stressed Al is with producing the show and agenting the show and making it all work. And it's like thinking there's also now cameras watching every moment. Meanwhile, you're trying to make sure shows are going off without a hitch. Which unfortunately,
Yeah,
especially if you're on indie wrestling, you know that's usually not a thing. They usually there's something that's gonna unfortunately go wrong at any
and
moment.
and that's the same thing at OVW. There's any given moment
Yeah.
something can go wrong. The hard camera could not be working right before the show. The sound could go out. I mean, I've seen it all. But you know what? They've got a lot of good people there that know what they're doing, and they fix stuff and they get it all fixed. And or if they can't get it fixed, they roll with it, and you just have to end up watching it on YouTube on their YouTube channel or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but most of the time, I don't think I've ever seen them not get a program out on live. They might have like some technical difficulties during it or something, but I've never seen them, not get something out
Yeah. Which again
personally.
is still insane to see that to be able to do that as long as they're doing it and continuously putting out again comment much appreciation to them and much respect. So now back to that though, the after now. With even now, I can imagine people are still sometimes even just going through Netflix, they probably catch the documentary now, even as long as it's been later. How has that reaction been for you? Is that something that's still now, even though you guys are heels, are you still getting that, hey, I saw you on this, man. That was cool.
Um, yeah, I mean, I get it a lot more on maybe on social media and stuff, not
Gotcha.
so much out in public. Although, you'll get the looks in
Yeah.
public, or you'll get the people that'll walk by you and smile and nod their head at you
Yeah.
and
It's
something
like they
like
want
that.
to
But
say
yeah,
something. It's like that moment of
right.
like, I think and it's the
You look
awkward, like I
familiar.
don't,
I
yeah,
think I might know you. Maybe if I had my cowboy hat on.
probably, yeah, probably that's probably what
But
it is too, because it's like you don't want to be the awkward. Do I know you from? Yes, yes, that was yep.
right, right. And I don't know if I'd say yes. I might be like, nah, that was my twin brother.
Hey, got to keep the kayfabe alive. Got to keep the kayfabe
Hey,
alive.
yeah, I
But
don't. I think that's a lost thing there.
I, at times, I feel like we're still in that mix of certain. It depends on the day, I guess. It's like we said, it depends on the day. But now, when it comes to you, though, again, you're traveling around. You've gone to do the thing now with Snake Williams Jr. Um, what's been on your radar though, as far as opponents? I always like to ask: is there someone that you're still watching that's like you want to get in there with before it's time to hang up the boots?
Oh man, there's so many people that I'd like to get in the ring with before I hang up the boots, man. I mean, right now I'm in there with a kid named Ace King up at IPW. We're doing a little thing for the title. He's the number one. Well, um, he is the interim champion because when I had a medical issue, it was while I was the champion
Still
and
champion,
didn't
yeah.
know what was going to happen, and so they ended up having an interim title match, and he ended up winning and all that stuff. So I'm doing stuff with him, but I mean, as far as before my career is over with, I'd love to get in the ring with Luke Curtis.
Okay.
That's my number one, Luke Curtis, man. He's certified. Uh, if you know anything about OVW, you know who Luke Curtis is,
Yeah. No,
and
there you go.
he's hot. He's on fire. He is somebody to keep your eyes on for real.
Okay.
Another guy I'd love to be in the ring with is Jack Vaughn. I'd love to. I almost this close to having a match with Jack Vaughn at OVW. They had me on the card to wrestle him in a dark match, and then it got changed. And I ended up, I mean, it got changed. It was a better deal for me because it got changed where I actually got to do a TV match and be on TV.
Oh,
But
okay.
at the same time, I think I would have rather wrestled Jack Vaughn than
Yeah.
do what I did on TV. So,
Hey, again, Jack Vaughn is definitely he's definitely getting himself over like crazy, especially on social media. If you guys haven't seen those clips of what he does, it's one of those where it's so too perfect. The clips that he's done of how
oh,
locker rooms
Jack
can be,
Vaughn
and just
is Jack Vaughn without OVW. Jack Vaughn is already a star, anyways.
yeah,
I mean, he is already a star. He's a social media star,
yeah.
and I mean, man, Jack Vaughn is a great.
Oh, I think we lost Snake here. Give us 1 second
Sorry
to.
about that. Did I cut out on you?
Yeah. Are you? Can you hear us now? Are you good?
Hello?
Can you hear us? Hello. Give us 1 second to get Snake back in here. Hopefully, you could hear us. Give us 1 second. Give us 1 second, folks. See, this is what happens. We talk about the social media star Jack Vaughn, and he cuts us off. Can you
Sorry,
hear us, Snake?
man.
Can you hear us? Are you good?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you. Can you hear me?
It's all good. Yeah, we can hear you. I was
Sorry about
saying
that,
it.
man. My phone started ringing and it cut me off of the damn podcast, man.
It's all good. It's all good. I was saying we put over Jack Vaughn, and that was it. He
Yep,
was like,
that's the
"That's it."
show, man. Hey, trust me.
Uh, there you go. But no, that definitely would be another good one to see. To see you guys mix it in there. So
And I wouldn't mind having another banger with Jeb. Me and Jeb, we can do some pretty good stuff in the ring together, man. And I wouldn't mind having another one with him.
I would say, would you guys ever want to tag again, if possible, down the line?
Would we tag again?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Okay. No, no. I asked just to see, because again, especially how much you were saying, how much you learned, and just the
I
chemistry you guys
mean,
had.
you can never say never. I'll
Of course.
never say never, but it's highly unlikely. But who
Gotcha.
knows?
Hey, again, it's wrestling. I'll steal another line from other deals of mine, the Maximos. I guess expect the unexpected. You never know. You
There you
never know what
go.
could happen in the business.
Did you
But
say Maximo?
yes, the Maximos, the SAT.
Oh, the Maximos. Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
if you
yeah.
was talking about Maximo Suave from OVW or not.
No, I do know him as well, but no, the Maximos, the SAT. Maximo Suave, actually, he wrestled out here for a bit as well. I got to meet
Yeah.
him a few years back at Bree Combination Wrestling back here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I know Maximo. He's a good dude.
yeah. So now, before I do let you go, Snake, because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. One final question I do want to ask you, and that is for yourself. What is the end goal, brother?
The end goal. I
Yep.
mean, once I'm done with wrestling, man, and I want to still be involved in some way. I don't know if being an agent is for me. Maybe being a scout or being a trainer and training other wrestlers. Being a mouthpiece for wrestlers, a manager, and bringing some of the new guys along as a manager, because managers help bring wrestlers along and teach them the business and stuff too. Maybe do something like that. I've sent some feelers out to OVW about maybe doing some managing or something. Maybe something will come up with that. Maybe something won't. I don't know. But yeah, man, that's the end game for me. And I mean, other than that, I just want to enjoy life, man.
Got you.
I just
No,
want to
no.
live free and die hard.
There you go. That's the best way to put it. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you are following Snake on all of his social media there, which for now it's the Facebook and TikTok, correct?
Yes, sir.
There you go. So those links will be in the description down below. Contact them, get in touch if you guys are wanting to get some of that Southern discomfort on your upcoming shows, as well as go check them out so you can see anything coming up. And like we said, you never know what could happen next. Snake, thank you so much for joining us again, brother. This is great. I
Man,
definitely.
I appreciate you having me on, brother. I enjoyed it, man. It was fun.
Oh, thank you so much. And everyone watching, as always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft. And we'll see you guys on the next one.